She's a business mogul, #1 author, and wellness expert.
How can I help?
And now Chantel Ray Finch and her amazing guests are here to guide you on your journey to health, wealth, and godly wisdom.
Time to level up.
Welcome to the Health, Wealth, and Godly Wisdom podcast.
Well, hello. Welcome to today's episode. And we today are talking about health, wealth, and godly wisdom. Sometimes we talk about one, but today we're talking about all three. And we're not talking about what culture tells us and not what social media glorifies and not what hustle culture celebrates. We are talking about what real wealth looks like when God is at the center of your life. And so, we developed something called the 7 pillars of wealth and freedom. And so there's faith, there's finances, there's family, finding purpose, free time, fitness, and friends. They all start with F. And, for a long time, we talked about, for us, it was like wealth meant one thing, money, right?
Mm-hmm.
But most people think that. And so I want to talk a little bit about kind of leverage and what holds people back. Let's start with that. And if you want to start that.
Well, ultimately, as you're looking at wealth, though, the thing is, if you're making between 50 and 100,000, you're going to have a really hard time catching up. And the reason is because of leverage.
Well, let me tell a story first about that, because I want to say something, because we were talking to our neighbor. And he literally asked us, he was like, what's your goal for next year? Remember? And we were like, well, we want to make over $1 million in profit a month. And he was like, he kind of looked at us like, well, I'm way exceeding that goal. So that wouldn't really be a goal for us. And so we were like, oh, okay, my bad,
Yeah.
And so, when you're looking at people, they're looking at you like, I'm hoping they're telling the truth, but it's hard for them to believe that in their mind. They feel like it's impossible.
Yes.
Saying, I want to make $1 million a month in profit, in their mind, they're like, they're talking nonsense, right? Mm-hmm. So give an example.
So let's say that you're going to run a mile. All right. Okay. And I'm going to go 2. Okay. So you're obviously going to beat me as we do that. However, I said, you're going to run. And I said, I'm going to go too. All right. But the reason is because I'm going to use leverage. I didn't say I wasn't riding a bike. So now I can go twice as fast and use half the energy, if even that, and I can go that far. And it goes further than that,
Yeah. And so let's just give the next analogy. You talked about bike. Now let's talk about a car.
Yeah. So now we say, hey, we're going to go 4 miles. I'm going to go 4 miles and you're going to go 2. But now you've moved up to a bike and I move up to a car. Right. And so as you keep adding these levers, you can keep doing this. And this is really how wealth works, right? Essentially, by having money, the person with money can use that as a lever to keep driving faster and faster than somebody who's doing it on their own.
And that's what we teach people, because you can actually go farther faster. And obviously we're talking about the transportation realm, but you can go farther faster in the financial realm and use less energy. That's what right. We're literally teaching people every single day is like, hey, how do you win the race? And if you are running with the wrong vehicle, if you're most of these,
we got to get in the right vehicle. We're trying to get them. That's why we talk about even opening a separate company, because we're going to create a whole new vehicle.
Yeah. And it's like, what we teach people is, first, we teach them how to stop walking, then get into the bike, then get into the car, then get into the plane, then get into the jet.
The jet, take the plane.
But we're not talking about a real car, a real jet.
Yeah.
It's leverage that we're talking about. And
but I think they know this. They know that if they're doing 50 to 100,000, that they're not getting there fast enough and they need leverage.
Yeah. And I tell people all the time right now, you might be on a financial bicycle. Like if you're making between $250,000 and 500,000, you might be in a car. So, 500,000.
And then obviously they can start putting money away so they can start using it, levering it, and doubling down to the growth. And obviously if they're on the lesser side, then it's even harder to get there.
And it's actually easier to make a lot of money in a short period of time than it is. It just
to make a little bit over a long period of time, because there's just too much disruption and changes and all of that goes on. So it's easier to make a lot of money in a short period of time.
Yeah. And it's like, this is what we're passionate about. We're passionate about personal development, self-improvement, entrepreneurship. And when you're in this space, when you have people who are kind of running in the car or they're in the bicycle.
They don't even believe this is true, though. You said this kind of in the beginning, but it's like they don't even believe that this is true. And so how do we get there? How do we get them to know about this truth?
Yeah. Well, let's just shift gears because we're going to go back to talking about wealth. But for right now, tell the story about my parents moving here. I want to have that conversation because you're the one who brought it up.
Yeah.
You literally had a conversation with a friend, and I want you to talk about how you were really the reason why my mom and dad moved here. So mom and dad better say thank you.
I was forcing it because essentially when he told me this, and this was years ago, I think when he told me, he said, look, you have X amount of times when someone lives in another state that you're going to see them.
My parents live in Arkansas.
Yeah, they lived in Arkansas.
They lived in Arkansas, excuse me. They now live here.
And I said, you're going to see them like 15 away. You're going to see them 15 times a year, right? And so if you're going to see them 15 times a year, but if they were to move here, then obviously you'd be able to see them a lot more, because if not, then it's 15 times, over 10 years. And because you're seeing them 2 times a year.
Yeah. And so it's so funny because I literally just saw my mom at the grocery store. It was crazy. It was just like, I literally looked up and I'm like, Mom, I haven't lived in the same state with her since I was in my teens, so that was kind of cool. But the whole idea is if you live in another state, on average, you're probably going to see your parents 4 times.
2 to 4, yeah.
2 to 4 times a year.
Because it costs travel.
It costs money and travel and all of that. So we just made the decision. My parents were like, you know what? We want to be near our grandkids.
And it's beautiful here.
Now we're trying to get our entire family here. So if you guys are listening, we want you here near us. But let's kind of move to another, talking about some more on the different pieces of the funnel. I wanted you to talk about your health for just a second.
Okay.
I feel like you've really transpired your health.
Me?
Right
I was just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So talk about a few things that you've done to improve your health right now.
Well, I mean, ultimately, the first thing I did is start listening to you. I feel like I was just friction to that. You had all these things, whether it was paleo, keto, like you talk about all this stuff and it was like a foreign language to me. But what's funny is it sank in, and eventually I just stopped kicking against it and said, all right, I came to my senses and said, now I've got to do this. And so, intermittent fasting is huge because, that really changes your body, the way that it operates, and ultimately changing the supplements that are coming in, changing the exercise. I mean, there's just so many things between oxygen chamber, IVs. I mean, we've added so many different things that we can do to improve our health. And I mean, I really focused on it.
We're honestly friends with some really, really high, big thinkers. And we have a couple of our friends that, 100 pounds overweight. And it's like, yeah, he's got the wealth piece, but he's missing it on the health piece. We're constantly looking at him like,
I don't know how you even stayed with me. I look back at some of those pictures there and I was like, man, I mean, you've always been beautiful, but man, I don't know how you did it. But that's why I'm going to stay with you.
Some pictures of me where I look like who did it and forgot about it.
No, not at all.
Yes,
not at all.
Sure.
But you know what? One of the statements somebody said to me is your fitness is costing you money too. Like, because people, if they don't think I'm disciplined, if I'm not disciplined, I mean, I've been to the gym twice today. I mean, I was up at 3 and went to the gym at 5. I mean, so, and again at 8. So,
well, I think, back to, we talk about like, people like Elon Musk. Elon Musk is an example that we talked about. He's got so many accolades behind his name, but he also, he was in a season of building wealth. And then look what happened. I think he's been married 3 or 4 times. I'm not sure how many, but that's not real success if you've been married all these times. To me, he got the financial piece right, but he's missing the other 6 foundations.
Yeah, I mean, and it's tough, being there for your kids' things and, being there for your spouse and, having all that focus. And I know there's probably a lot of tension with people that way relationally that goes on, but, that's even part of why I love that movie, The Family Man. So,
yeah. Let's talk about the dimmer switch because all 7 of these pillars are really important. And obviously I just finished writing a book, Tune In, God's Voice, Your Purpose. And I spent a lot of time on focusing on that, but I've seen people who put all their time on that and they shut everything else off. So talk about kind of, certain times something might be a level 10,
focus.
But it doesn't mean that might be a focus, but it doesn't mean that the other things
are less important.
Completely shut off.
Yeah,
you
can't turn them off. You can't go to a 0. Essentially, you can't turn the lights off on your family while you're working on your career, and you can't just focus on your family and not work on your career either. So you may go all in on one, and it's unbalanced, if you will, in one category, and then you're going to keep the other ones, maintained, and then you're going to go in and develop and grow those even more, and then you kind of keep doing that.
Yeah. And a lot of times people like turn the light switch completely off in one of those categories. Mm-hmm. And if you turn the light switch off for too long, you can't turn it back on. Just mm-hmm. like if you ignore your wife for so long, she's going to say sayonara, mm-hmm. right? And so, yes, you might say, hey, I need to spend more time on my book right now. But it doesn't mean I'm completely turning that switch off.
Well, it's for a season and y'all kind of agree on that. And then that that's for a season and you're going to do something for a purpose and then you go back to it. So it actually can work to an alignment.
Yeah. And your kids aren't going to be 10 years old forever. Your partner's not going to be there for you later if you're completely turning that switch off. And you're not going to have your health if you just go, okay, for right now, I'm focused on all these other things.
And I really, when we talk about health is almost one of the most important things because without it, essentially, if you're sick, you can't really focus on a lot of those other things. So, I think everybody really knows that health is really important. And if they can.
Well, and you guys know I did that for a season. So I got an autoimmune condition. I got psoriatic arthritis, and it was because I put so much of my energy into my work for that.
Which season. That even affected me because then I wanted to turn off. I was doing 100 things. I was like, I can't do 100 things. I felt pulled and I needed to be there for you because I can only imagine. So I didn't want to have all those things going on.
Yes. And so it's kind of like with your muscles. If you think about it, when you turn something off completely, it atrophies. Like if you go to the hospital and you are like completely, your muscles will atrophy.
Yeah. If you stay in the bed. Nothing. Yeah. There's some therapy recipe for once you get out of the bed, like 3 days for every day or something.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, okay, maybe you would call your mom instead of calling her for an hour that week, you might only talk to her for 10 minutes, but that doesn't mean you're completely turning that switch off.
You better call your mom for an hour. You do. So,
well,
you do. She lives here. You still call her for an hour.
Yeah. Like, let's give an example for the working out. I want to kind of talk about the levels.
Like the commitment. It comes down to commitment. Essentially, when you're doing commitment, people think that you've got to stay consistent over and over, and consistency and going to the gym. What happens is things happen, right? So if you were going to the gym and you wanted to have an hour at the gym 5 days a week be your level one, and then you do that, and then something happens, you don't go to, I'm not going to the gym. You're not going to a 0. You got to go to, okay, I can only get in 30 minutes. And then, you wake up another day and you just got a migraine and, the dog at your homework, you got all kinds of reasons not to do it. So you say, all right, let me just go for a walk. Let me just do something. So you got these 3 levels that you've already planned ahead so that you can schedule and know when something goes bad, I'm at least going to do this.
Yeah. It's basically everything you're doing is you're having a level 1 goal, a level 2 goal, and a level 3 goal. And so a perfect example, we go to the sauna all the time. So the sauna, a lot of times we go for 40 minutes for 170 degrees. Give that example.
Well, so sometimes the goal is 40 minutes. We do the cold plunge and it's at 170, right? And then there's other times we're like, hey, just not today. We dial it down. It's 140. May do the salt cell thing. We may do the cold plunge. We may not do the cold plunge. We may do 20 minutes, because that's all we can get to because we're running here or there or doing something else. That's the only time we got. So, but we get in there and get some of the time.
Yeah. So it's like one day we might do 40 minutes. The next day we might do 30 minutes. Another day we're doing 20, but we've been
another day they're kicking us out of there. Like, hey, the Finches, y'all got to go.
But we literally, I don't think there's been a day we've missed. We've gone, we've been in town.
It tracks
we
it.
have been there. So we've made that commitment, but we're on either level 1, level 2, or level 3.
I really look forward to it. So.
Well, let's talk about, our son's going to probably get mad at me right now by saying this, but I want to talk about, for us right now, he's not doing great in biology. He makes great grades.
It's getting better. It's getting better.
He makes really great grades, but in one class, he's not doing good. And I hate biology.
And it's your fault because you don't know biology because it's not my fault.
I hate it. I hate science. I hate everything about it. So he's not doing good at all in biology. But for us, I don't know why, but we don't really care about that.
I don't even care about the grade and him doing his homework, doing the stuff he needs to do, being responsible.
Well, we're teaching him to be an entrepreneur anyway, so the grades, we don't really care if he does great.
I don't know if it's I don't care. We've grounded him for it. We do care. So
yeah, but I think the biggest thing is that for him, what we've told him in that particular case, I told him, the first time ever, I said, I'll be happy if you just make a C. That's kind of like the level 1, level 2.
What's crazy though, is because you were a straight A student through school and
Yes.
I was a C student and we still both did okay. So it's not really a predicated thing.
Exactly. Well, I want to talk about, this is another piece I want to talk about today, is eulogy goals versus having resume goals.
Yeah.
And
so like if you're going to a speaking event, right? You go to a speaking event
because you're getting ready to go to
yeah. So I got to go.
event,
I've got to go to one, and they usually like a brag sheet is kind of what they call it, and they want to go through all the things of whatever your accolades are that you've done, and they want to go in and do it. And because we've been to this level now, is that I focus on things that are more important and valuable to me. So it's not like, hey, you're the CEO, we have 100 franchises, I own whatever 16 companies. I don't need them to say all of that. They may, because obviously they want to give credibility, but I always add in obviously that I'm a Christian and that, I'm a faith-based leader, that I've been married 16 years and I'm a father of 2, because those are the things that are really more important to me.
Yeah. I think we've completely changed. When I used to speak at events, I would have a resume, of all the things.
It would roll out.
Number one of this, number one of that. And that was important to me. And now it's just about, she's a great wife. She's a great mother.
She is a great wife. She is a great mother.
So those are the things that actually matter to me now as I'm getting older. And so it's just
25 is not older, babe. I mean, come on now.
Yeah, I wish. But I think the older you get, 25. The more you realize in your life that you want to make sure that what really matters, it's perfect. Like for your eulogy, for your deathbed, what do you want to be remembered for?
Yeah, the legacy you
want to be remembered for. And honestly, being number one at this and being number one at that. Really,
I picture how many business owners and people we're going to be able to help. I see that as generational. Like once you help one business owner, they're going to teach their kids, and it's just a momentum builder. But I think that's going to matter later.
Yeah. And one of the F's that we talk about is actually finding your purpose, right? Like that is really important. And I think that I've seen people who are doing a job that maybe their parents did, that, their parents wanted them to be a doctor, or they wanted them to be this.
Let me interrupt you. So, purpose is a funny thing. A lot of people think I can't find my purpose. I don't know what my purpose is, right? But there's actually a gift. When you look at it for purpose, you can make a purpose out of whatever it is. There's like the janitor that cleans the bathrooms or whatever. He's like, I keep it clean in here so that everybody comes in and, whatever, that you start building a purpose in that. I mean, your purpose can be in your parents. It can be in your career, or be in parenting. It can be in your career. I mean, there's all different ways you can make a purpose out of really anything that you're doing if you focus on it.
Well, even at the Ritz-Carlton, like the way they talk about things, they're ladies and gentlemen serving other ladies and gentlemen, and they find a purpose. They have like a mission statement for every single job position. So, but it's a matter of every day, am I waking up going, this is what God's called me to do? And that's one of the reasons why I wrote the book, Tune In, God's Voice, Your Purpose, because the first thing you have to do, you will never, ever find your purpose if you can't hear from God. That's number one, right? Because who gave you your purpose is actually Him. And what
He reveals it to you. He reveals it to you.
So you're going to be miserable if you're not walking in the purpose that He's designed you to do. And we have an all-day workshop that we do where we sit down, you come to our house, and we actually will help you. We have questions, and we have small group with 10
You
people.
reinvent yourself. You reinvent so that you can create that purpose, and you live a life on purpose, whether that's through your business, your career, or any of the pillars of Finch Freedom.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just so, so important for you to find that purpose and what you're kind of looking to do. Let's talk a little bit about some of the things that you've seen. I mean, we're on coaching calls all the time and talking with CEOs. And one of the things that people are finding harder and harder is they're not making as much money as they were 3 years ago or 2 years ago. It was easier. I mean, things have gotten tougher for sure. I mean, he's yelling at me because of how much I spend at the grocery store. But
I went with you, and then we see your mom, and you're all like buying the same things. So like, man, what a backfire.
Oh my gosh. But things have gotten expensive.
They have.
And you have to start making more money, period. The end. I don't care who you are. You have to figure out a way to start making more money because life is getting expensive. So with businesses, on the ones that you're coaching, talk a little bit about what are some of the biggest things that you're seeing of things people are getting wrong?
Naturally, the first thing that happens is once they feel tight, they stop marketing. They don't spend any money on marketing. And it should be a money glitch where you put money in, it generates a lead and you're able to do sales, and they slow down that marketing, and that marketing stops sales. And then that stops having an employee, and then it just slows momentum all the way down. And so driving marketing is one of the most important things. And I think people, that's the first thing they pull back on.
One of the questions that I asked one of the coaching clients that I said is, if you were the main character in a movie of your life, what would the audience be screaming at you to do right now?
And such a good question.
It's such a good question because you know how you're watching.
I think they're yelling, "Kiss her." That's what I think they're saying right now. Kiss her. Oh, sorry. No, that was a different movie.
You know, we've all watched a movie where we're literally just want to jump out in the screen, and we want people to be like, go chase the girl to the airport, or, you know, don't open that closet door, or whatever it is. Like you're literally saying that out loud.
It's such a good
But
visual.
There's something blindingly obvious to, like, when we do these coaching calls, they know what it is. They deep down know, but they don't know it until someone is asking the right questions.
Yeah. When they allude to it and kind of, well, I probably should do this. And maybe I stopped doing this. Like they'll say statements like that.
Yeah. And I guarantee that you find tiny actions every call. People have these aha moments. And the other thing I say is that a change of pace plus a change of place equals a change in perspective. Like when people come down here for the day, it's like they have a change of pace, they have a change of place, they have a change of perspective. Everything changes for them because when you change your environment, you literally start thinking new things and having that change of heart.
I brought that up. I actually put something on social media today because when we like the sunsets, when we do the sunset, for whatever reason, we didn't do that before because we lived on the East Coast of it. But when you go here and see the sunset, you realize the day's over. Did you accomplish something more? You know, and did you get done what you wanted to do that was important and valuable? That's one example of what you're saying.
Well, and I think people underestimate how much their environment impacts their thought patterns. And some of the people that they're hanging out with, even whether it's their staff, they need to change up, their friends, they need to change up, and they've got to change up some of the patterns. What are some of the things that you've seen that has been a big issue for some of the people of who they're hanging out with, the people they're with, and some of the people that once they've changed their environment, it's made a big difference?
Well, I mean, you know, I really have always been a big advocate of like going to church. I don't even like to miss church because I feel like I'm going to learn something new. A lot of times it's even whether they're hanging out with people that are going out drinking or partying or doing things like that, that's stopping them. If they're hanging around people that are in the same business level as them, they stay in the same business level. When you get at a business level of somebody ahead, the problems you think you have are smaller to the person that has a business above you because they wouldn't even think of that as a problem. They solved that quickly and they've already solved it.
Yeah. One of the things that I have seen is that people are not feeling like they're making a difference. And so if they don't feel like they're making a difference, that's where the problem can happen, is because they're feeling like, again, they're not walking in their purpose and they're not.
Feeling like, what's the point?
Exactly.
I mean, that's why I think that reinvent is so important, because they get the purpose part of it. I mean, you're getting a change of place, change of pace. And on top of that, you're getting a purpose. And it's all, not only that, then the modeling, the whiteboarding, and everything else that is included with that.
Yeah. And one of the things that we just did, if you want to talk about it, is we literally put all of our companies and all the things we were doing. I think that the biggest thing that I've seen is if you talk about simplifying, because, you know, if you have things so complicated, when we whiteboard it, you start looking at how complicated even a few things that projects we're working on, that it's like, if you don't make it, simplicity scales, complexity fails.
Yeah. Well, and you know, the thing with it was really, I loved what I saw because I realized we built that. Do you know what I mean? Like that's what, when we're looking at, that's the picture of what we built. And at the same time is essentially the clarity of things. Clarity is really what it comes down to. So as you simplify it, things get a little clearer. You're doing these 3 things, not doing these 30 things. That is really a way to build on that.
Yeah. we focus on so many other things besides money, but I think money isn't nothing either, right? Like it's important because it's like the Maslow hierarchy of needs. You have to be able to provide for yourself.
Your
so
roof,
that does
your roof
have
and shelter
to be,
and your food. Yeah.
Yeah. And so in the early years, I would say, money did buy happiness in some of that early years when we first started making money.
That's how I got that ring.
But
okay, good thing I was funny.
But at the same time, it's not everything. And that's why the other 6 things that we have on our funnel that we have, our picture is super important. So it's not the end all be all, but it's definitely a tool for building the other types of wealth because first perfect example, if you don't have the money, you can't give. You can't be a blessing to other people. You can't go visit your parents. You can't invest in your health. Like the sauna we go to is really expensive.
Yeah, IVs are expensive. Well, another part of it is I don't know what it is. I don't know why it's this way. I don't really look at it this way, but I feel like, and I was talking about this with the pastor earlier today, I said, people just, once you make enough money, they think of that as success. So now they'll listen to everything else, right? So you're using money as a means to essentially have the right to speak and help change people's lives because they know you had to be disciplined. They know you had to focus on things. They know you had to be successful and think through things. So it's a barometer really of things that you've done, well.
Well, and I think one of the things you have to remember is making money has also been very overcomplicated, right? Because the way you make money is by creating value for other people. Like you should never say, I want to get rich next year. Like,
no, I want to help more people.
Absolutely not. You want to create so much value for other people in the next year. And that's how you're going to make money.
Should I just tell them? Can I tell them this?
Yeah.
I mean, here's the deal. The reason that we're going to be able to make money is because we're going to help them open up businesses that they're going to build value add. When they take a business that's this big and grow it this big, and they partner with us to help them do it, they're going to quantify their value and we've helped them.
Yes. And listen, if creating value is the thing you're after, all you have to do is identify problems, create a solution, and then scale that solution. That's what we love to help people do. Period. The end. Like literally, that's it. You have to do those 3 things. And then the more scalable, the more money you're going to get.
And which I like, and the more complex sometimes, because what we're doing, we're going to make an income from doing what we're doing. And at the same time, it's complex. It's not out there for everyone to do to add this value.
Well, and the other thing is that honestly, one of the things we help people do is to not make things so complicated.
So it's like Facebook, you put up there, it's complicated. So we don't want them to put that.
Yeah. And I will say, I want to talk about, because sometimes people say they're listening to the podcast. Someone had said, okay, well, I have a 9-to-5 job, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm trying to get out of that 9-to-5 job.
Those people probably hung up on me earlier, but go ahead.
One of the things you can do is you can
Hopefully
say,
they listen.
okay, think about whatever job you're in. What are the 10 problems that maybe your boss has right now that you could kind of go, okay, I could create something to help my boss fix these 10 things.
And now you're adding value.
You're going to get more opportunity. You're going to be able to do what you need to do to get that fixed.
There's so much opportunity out there.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about, because one of the things, let's say you have some things of your job that you hate or your career that you hate. One thing that we had a conversation with someone and we were talking about the Zoom calls. He's got a virtual business and we gave him some advice on the Zoom calls. Do you want to share that about taking the walks while they're on the Zoom calls?
What he did is he essentially said, well, I don't like the Zoom calls, but if I go out there and I do the Zoom call, but I take a walk, then I'm being productive. I'm out in nature and I feel like I'm just getting a lot more value. So it made it where it was more enjoyable for me and I felt more value doing that.
Yeah. And we even talked to one guy who was like, he can work from anywhere. And he's like, I just feel like I haven't been traveling. I haven't been doing this. And it's like, well, you've just said you can work from anywhere. You should be doing more traveling. You just bring your laptop and start.
Some of us less. Some less traveling. Just because we can doesn't mean we should.
Yeah, we've been traveling a lot. So I hate to travel. So I think that culturally we, have it wrong in the sense that it was funny because my family background, I don't like to tell people this, but my background is from Iran and my dad's Iranian. My mom is American. And they take like 2 to 3 hour lunches, first of all. And family is so important. Like a lot of people don't realize I love to feed people.
Yes, you do.
And that comes from my culture. I when you come over, I like to give you food while you're here and then give you a ton of food to go. But I think that it's really important for you to realize that, hey, what is it that brings me joy? And what can I do to make more priority with your friends and time and some of the memories while still grinding? Any thoughts on that?
Well, sometimes what you're going to do is just start focusing on like what the benefit of it. If that was a means to an end, like I have to do this for a certain period of time, that can feel like drudgery. But you get out of that by saying, yeah, but because of this, I can go on a vacation with my family. Because of this, I'm going to get out of this financial debt, or, something along those lines. That's one of the ways. And then, another way could be pick 3 of them and then see how you can get rid of one. So like if you can move out of one of them, you're like, hey, these are kind of one of the things. You go have a meeting with the boss, you go figure out how you can hire somebody for that position. So that way it feels like, all right, it's not 3 things that I don't like every day and then drudgery. You're just dealing with 2 and now you've outsourced to somebody else.
So let's talk about AI for a second, because I feel like we have really gotten some great AI tools and some of the things that we've helped businesses take it to the next level.
Because a lot of people are just using ChatGPT, but what we've done now is put everything together on finchfreedom.com/AI. They can come in and see all of these resources that we have.
Yeah, and it tells what you can use what we're using right now in AI. So just go to finchfreedom.com/AI and you can download all the different ones. And we say, okay, for video editing, this is the one we use. Right. For this, we use this. For this, we use this. One of the things that I love that you said, we were talking about a friend of mine.
I knew I could read your face. I knew that what was coming.
We're talking about, one of the things you said to me is, I was talking to my friend Kristen on the phone, and you were like, Kristen's such a good friend for you. And I want to talk about that, because it's like, you have some friends. We had a friend that was like, Chantel, you need to take a ghost week where you literally,
or month,
where you do nothing for a week, because you have been literally like back to back to back to back. We've been all over the place with really great opportunities. We were at Ed Milet's house for the day. We were with Ryan Blair. We've just been with such high level people, and we haven't been able to say no to them, because we've gotten some invitations to some things that
they were close by. I mean, relatively, it was easy.
They've been game changers. So we've been saying yes too much.
But Kristen, it's in her core. It's just who she is as a person. She's really identified what's valuable and what's important, and that rubs off when you hang around somebody like that.
Yeah. And so I think one of the things that I'd like to say is like the 5 people that you hang out with, that's who you become like. But you also need some people. Every person that you hang out with doesn't have to be just all about
money and business and growing.
Money. Exactly. So let's talk about, we talk all the time about time, energy, and time, allocating our time. But I want to talk about energy, because I think people don't realize how important the people that you hang out with, the energy that they provide. We just went out to dinner with some good friends of ours, Jimmy and Christine, and their energy is amazing. We love them. I'm always energized.
Their peace. See, they have a peace about them. And that is really what's attractive. That really, you just feel peaceful after you hang out with them.
And I mean, she just
exudes. And he can cook.
Well, and not only that, they literally exude. The Bible talks about the fruits of the Spirit. They literally have everyone.
Because we can be aggressive. Like we push and push and push. And sometimes we got to be like, all right, settle down.
Yeah. So one of the tips that I want to give to people right now, we call it the red light, yellow light, and green light for energy. And what you do is, at the end of the week, what you do is you write down everything that you do that week, right? And then you kind of just color code it, right? So red gives you, this is the stuff that absolutely drained your energy. Then it's yellow is like, it was kind of neutral. It didn't give me energy, but it kind of was medium. Away. And then green was like, when I did this,
energized.
I was completely energized. So kind of give some examples of that and kind of how everyone can use that to kind of take their energy to the next level.
I mean, I really try and focus on a lot of energy building things. It can be, I mean, I like walks on the beach with you. That energizes me. I honestly, I like driving.
Everything he does with me energizes.
It does. And at the same time, it's not always perfect either, right? I mean, we don't agree on everything all the time. I'm always right, but we don't always agree. But so taking Kyle to school, like even if I take Kyle to school, like some may be like, hey,
that would energize.
Yeah, but I like it because of the conversation that's there and the time together, and then I get to catch up because I have, one-on-one time. So I enjoy that, so that type of stuff energizes me. If it was things that's neutral, it's like, I don't know, taking out the trash. I don't mind it. I mean, if I'm going to take out the trash because it's got to be done, it doesn't drain me. It doesn't do anything for me.
That is not true. That would be a red.
No, putting the bag in. That's a whole other inside joke. Yeah. But anyway, so that's more neutral to me. And then, if it's draining, I hate to say it this way, but if I'm trying to work with somebody and they're not putting in the same matched effort, I'm like an all-in kind of guy. So if I'm coaching or helping somebody, if they're not matching it, then I feel like it starts to pull away because I want them to want it too.
Well, that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where for the Zoom calls, if someone says, I don't have control, I have to do X amount of Zoom calls, they completely drain me. And you go, okay, well, how do we take this activity and turn it into making it from a Zoom call to making it, okay, this completely drains me, to making it where it's not that bad. I can now take a walk. I can go on the beach. I can do these different things. Now it's made it from something that's a red light to a yellow light or a green light just by changing the way I do things.
Yes.
Let's talk about being profitable. What are some of the things that you've been talking to people about how to be more profitable?
When you're going to do profit, okay, people look at profit like I'm going to run a McDonald's, all right, and I'm going to sell cheeseburgers. But what happens is they sell a cheeseburger for a profit. And they go back and they have to now have the cow, have the land, grow it, butcher it, all that stuff they have to do to make the meat. That all costs them against the cost of the hamburger. Trying to figure out how to centralize stuff allows you to make profit in other ways other than what your core business is. You set up a subsidy in your business to make other profits, and those can grow and scale better. But that only makes sense when you go bigger.
The other thing I want to talk about is I see people all the time who are literally, one of the guys that we just met with, of how we literally took about $10,000 worth of waste. People don't realize they have so many subscriptions that they're doing, $99 here, $20 here, $200 here, so many subscriptions type things, and looking at each thing and saying, is this bringing a return on investment?
Huge. It's like one of the best questions. I mean, that's probably one of the best things we've said on this whole call. It's like, if you're spending money on this, is it bringing in money? But most of the time, it's no different than our household. If somebody says, I need these potato chips, and no, you don't, and it adds up, and you get that accountability when somebody else comes in and tells you, you don't need this if you got rid of this, but it seems scary to them because maybe they've always done it that way.
Yeah. And I think that if you really ask yourself, how fast can you go from here to here? How fast can I do this? When we start looking at people, kind of like the property management company that we talked about, of how we got them to scale 10x so quickly, I think the amount of time that they think it's going to take them to get from here to there is they put these timelines in place that are so long that once we start talking to them and they're like, we can tell them, we've seen people do this in 6 months. We've seen people in 1 year do this.
There's a quote, and I literally was talking about this on the coaching call this week. And it's essentially, Elon Musk said it. He said, if your timeline is long, it's wrong. That's what he said. But essentially, I use that quote of this, but going back to it is essentially, if you give yourself 8 hours to clean your house, then you're going to take 8 hours to clean your house.
What about meetings? I see people, if you schedule schedule an hour-long meeting with someone, you're going to take a whole hour. If you schedule a 15-minute meeting, you're going to take 15 minutes. If you schedule 30 minutes, you're going to take 30 minutes. And so time is money.
I slowly was doing that. I had hour-long meetings, and I did 30 Calendly, and then I did 15.
And we've seen entrepreneurs schedule 5-minute check-ins, and you set a timer. You go, each person has 1 minute. You have 1 minute to do a breakdown of everything that's going on. You don't need a 1-hour check-in meeting.
High-level leadership also just ask one question. You just ask one question. You could send one text and move things along. So, I mean, people have hour-long meetings. Sometimes you got to go into those kind of weeds, but in most cases, you're just doing one thing wrong. And you can make that one adjustment quickly, the one focal point, you can have a lot of growth.
Most of the meetings that we're seeing with our CEOs, they're scheduling for an hour, and we've been able to cut those meetings down to even 15 minutes, and they're getting the exact same things accomplished.
Well, as they get more clarity, they know exactly what to ask, and they know what to focus on, and it makes it a lot quicker.
Yeah. And, even with speaking, like speaking engagements that we've kind of done, that we've kind of gone to, when we've kind of planned some of them, we've had to say no to some things because we've said, is this the best return for what we're wanting to do? So
time management. We've talked about money management, time management, and energy management today.
Yeah.
So we've covered a lot of
important things. Well, if you want to give people one last final tidbit on either health, wealth, or godly wisdom, what would you give them?
This is my favorite. You know that? This is my favorite. It's my favorite question. And I'm stealing it. I stole it from somebody else. All right. So if you hear it from somebody else, but it resonated with me, and I'm going to share it with you. So you'll know you heard it from me. I'll know I heard it from somebody else. So, all right, here's the deal. Go back to where you quit. All right. So if you quit giving at church, go back to where you quit giving. If you quit working out, go back to where you quit working out. If you stop going to church, go back to where you did that. If you stop dating your wife, go back to dating your wife. Go back to where you quit doing what you knew you were on the right path for. And I rethink that over and over all the time.
Yeah. And I just want to really, really remind you what we said earlier and what we talked about with the resume versus the eulogy. And I just want to remind you, like, when you die, if you fast forward to 25 years from now and they're kind of talking about your bio or they're talking about your eulogy, what would you want people to say about you? And I think for me, I always wanted to be like, she's a go-getter. She gets things done. She makes things happen like nobody else. She's number one at this. She's number one at that. And the truth is that what is most important is that you are a great friend. You are a great husband. You are a great father. You're a great mother. Those are the things that really, truly matter. And so I just want to put that as a final reminder for the day.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Well, I would like to say, I do think that you are a great father. You are a great husband. And so I'm blessed to have you.
Obviously, I think the same. I appreciate you sharing that, but I think you're a great mother and wife. And I love your philanthropy and how much you give and how much you care and how passionate you are about everything. So.
Well, and I do want to say, I just had a coaching call with somebody and they said, I haven't been tithing at church anymore. I quit tithing and things have kind of been getting hard, but I have been discounting my services to people. So I kind of am counting that as my tithing. And what I said to them is, to me, what I've noticed in life and in almost everyone that I've coached is that the first 10% of what you make just belongs to God, period, the end. And if you're feeling like, you kind of have a curse on you right now, you know what I mean? Like, the best analogy that I would like to give is, one time my son, Kyle, he was younger and I went to take him to McDonald's. I would never take him there now. This is when he was 5 years old and we didn't know better about how toxic McDonald's was. But he wanted French fries. He was 5. And I was smelling those fries and I was like, oh, Kyle. And so I went and grabbed one of the French fries, like out of the back seat. And he was like, those are my fries. And he's like, kind of pushed my hand away. And I was like, first of all, I'm the one who brought you to McDonald's. I'm the one who paid for these fries. I could go back and buy you a boatload more of fries if I wanted to. And I started thinking about that. That's kind of how God feels about us, is when it comes to giving, everything that we have is his. It's that same fry example. He could give us a ton more. And he's the one who gave us the fries. He's the one who brought us the fries. And so it's just a good reminder to think about for yourself is that everything that we have is his. We're just the manager of it. And so I would encourage you, if you haven't been giving, I would consider going back to giving and give the first 10%
Can I add
to him.
something else too?
Yeah.
I want to add something.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the story. You know, with Elijah and the widow, essentially he goes to her and she's like, I have this last meal. And that basically he asked her to give it to him. And it's the weirdest thing where he's asking her to give this last meal. She has one meal for her and her son. She says, we want to eat it and just so we can eat our meal and die. And, you know, it really resonated with me that I understood that was the act of faith. So whether it's investing in a coach, giving to your church or whatever it is, this has to be this sowing of seed that goes on to get back. When you talked about her cutting her costs, she was robbing those other people because they were saying, hey, we're giving less value. They already started the law of lack. They already thought, I don't have enough, so I can't pay you for your services. That actually is really just devastating downward spiral that she's opened them up to that. Essentially, they should have been paying the full thing because they wanted the full value. And obviously that blessing would have gone all the way through.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for joining us today. Hopefully today's show was a blessing to you. And we really care about your everything that has to do with health, wealth, and godly wisdom. And stay tuned. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.